Hi everyone, this is Jan and welcome back. We're going to start on our painting today, and I have a black and white print here of the roses and the leaves and the foliage that I have going on here. And we're going to not going to put everything in, but we're going to use this as an example. So what I've done is I've divided my canvas into fours, and I'm on a 12 by 12. And on this printout, I took the same printout that I had at first, and then I went ahead and divided it in fours, and I just folded it this way, folded it that way, drew lines. Then I took a Sharpie, a fine point Sharpie, and I outlined my petals and some of my foliage that I wanted to use for this painting. Now, if you wanted to do this on a smaller canvas, you could just use this as your pattern. You could put tape on it, and then you could go ahead and put it on your canvas, use graphite, and you could trace your pattern. But I didn't do that. What I did was I pre-painted my canvas with gray, and I did that because I want my chalk to show up. If I left it white, I'd have to use a color chalk, and I don't like to use that because sometimes you can see through it when I do the transparent petals. So I used the white chalk, and I used the paper. I used this as reference, and I sketched in the two roses from that. But I did the roses a little bit bigger because this canvas is a little taller than this pattern right here. It's almost the same width, but as you can see, it's a little bit taller. So I sketched it in, and now what I want to do is go ahead and start painting my outside petals. And what I have done is I've taken my paint and I have mixed an ivory up here with a little bit of, here's your ivory. I mixed a little bit of, took white, took a little bit of yellow, mixed it in there so that I have an ivory instead of a real stark white. Then I took a little more white and I mixed a little pink in there, some of this. And this color was actually a neon color of pink. It's a folk art color, but you can use any color of pink that you have. And I mixed a little bit of this medium blue into that to gray it down. I'm going to start out by using this color on the bottom of the brush and this on the top. Now before I do that, I noticed my canvas is really dry, and so I needed something to wet it. So I have some blending gel. It's really dry here in California, so I decided to go ahead and do the blending gel. And all I did was pick up some of it on my brush here, like that, and I'm just going to base it in. Now you can see where I already had it right here, and I'm just going to reapply it, because that's the petal we're going to do. Then once I have that up, I'm taking a 3/4 inch flat, and I've dampened it with water and blotted it on a paper towel. And I'm going to load up some of this grayed down pink and some of the ivory. And then we're going to double load this. pick up a little bit of blending gel in that. Now this rose here, we're going to do a different stroke on it. Last time we did little short strokes. Well, I'm going to try doing the shell stroke, which is a stroke we all know from one-stroke painting, and we learned it in our basic class. So if I put a dot right here, which is in the middle of this petal, and then I come over here and I want to do a shell stroke. Okay, now just turn your brush some. All we're looking for is color. Now I'm going to pick up another 1-inch brush that has nothing on it, it's just blotted, and I'm going to come a little bit further out, and we're going to pull that stroke into the center. Now I can see that this pink is not really going to show up that well. So I'm going to dip into a little bit brighter pink. And I just used that right there. Sometimes this can happen, you know, and your stroke won't show up. That's kind of what I felt with this one. Okay, set that brush down. Come back in, and we're still going to do the same thing. But you can see that's going to show up a little bit better. Yeah, see when the brush hits this pink, it'll give us a little pink edge, and that's what I wanted, was a little pink edge. Now when you see me disappear with my brush, I'm wiping it on a paper towel. That's all I'm doing. I can come back up, kind of blend that out if I have too much paint here. Okay. Now I'm just gently going to dip that in some water. I'm blotting it on a paper towel. I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to pick up my other brush, the one that we double loaded. Now this one, let's try this one without some blending gel. Let's just see if that will work, so we don't have to use the blending gel. I'm just trying this out. I'm not for sure whether it'll work or not. Well, we're going to find out here. And you can do these little tests yourself. You can't mess anything up. If anything, you can just paint right back over it again. It's not a done deal. I'm going to do this petal right here. There's my center. That's going to be my shell. So I'll come over here, do your shell, hold your brush, pick up your other brush. I usually start at the top and come in. You have to do a couple of strokes on that. Remember, I go a little bit past where I put the paint. That's so I can get a transparent edge on that. Okay, I'm going to dip it in a little water and blot it for the next petal that I'm going to do. Now, just loading again. Now that one we didn't put any blending gel on it at all. And we were fine. So test your canvas out first and see if you might need the blending gel or you don't need the blending gel. It depends on how each person double loads their brush. Okay, here's one right here. There's the center. Okay. I'm at an angle here. Okay, hold on to your brush. Pick up your other one. Touch outside. Start blending in. Ooh, okay, that turned out pretty. Hope you guys can see that. Blot it on a paper towel. Now, you can come back. If you've blended out too much of your pink, come back. There you go. Now the reason we're doing it this way is because I want the outside row of petals to be really transparent. That's why we're doing this technique. And I thought, well, I could show you a different way of doing this that more people would be familiar with, and that's why we're doing the shell stroke instead of the little short stroke, how we went like this last time. Okay, so here's the center of this little petal back here. Start here. Do a shell, and you can do one at a time if you want to. And you can just turn your brush each time. Sometimes when you're a beginner, it's easier to do it this way. To kind of do one shell at a time. And then that way you get it turned in the direction that you want. There we go. Looks like a double layer right in here. That was just by accident. Okay, let's do another one. Just don't be afraid to try different techniques. Alright, here's the center of that little petal. Okay, do a shell. I want a shell right there. You can do shells really fast and really short. Whatever is comfortable for you. I do them all kinds of ways. We're just laying in color. That's all we want, is just color on here so that we can pull our stroke. Okay, blot that other one. We're working our way forward. Here's the center. In case you're wondering, there's the center. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to go ahead and finish out all of these petals on here, and then I will come back and I'll show you what it looks like once I have all of these done. Then that way you can take your time and do each petal as slow as you would like to do. So I'll be right back. Okay everyone, I've completed this rose that I have over here, and the color I was looking for that I used for the pink is this hot pink marbling, and it's a folk art color, and I got this in a packet, so I liked the color, and so that's what I'm using as my pink color. Now, as you can see, I'm trying to get this flower as close to this as I can. And this one has a pink tint, but it also has an ivory tint. And I can see some warm tones of a light yellow in there also. So that's the color I was trying to get for this rose that we did here. Now what I want to do next is I'm going to paint this rose. And that rose is a lavender color. So what I'm going to do is pick up some violet pansy. And that again is a folk art color. There it is right there on the plate. And I'm going to try that out first and see how I like it. But I'm going to do this one the same way that I did this one. This one's a little smaller, so I'm going to drop down probably to a number 12 or a number 16. What you basically want, if you're picking out the size of your brush, is if I was going to do the fan shape, this brush would be okay. This one's a number 16. So more than likely, I will probably go ahead and use a 16 on here. Now when I come into here, I may have to drop down to a number 12 on that one. And for these bigger petals, like this one here and this one here, I could actually use my 16. So you might want to have a few different sizes ready to use whenever you're doing your petals. And again, I make sure I have two brushes. One will have your color loaded on it, and the other one will just be dampened down so that you can do your overstroke. And I just have them laying on an old towel that I have, a little hand towel that I'm not using anymore. And I have them laying on the hand towel, and I just pick one up and then pick the other one up and do it that way and alternate back and forth. Now if you're a fast painter, you could actually do a couple of petals here and maybe this one here. Depends on where you live and how dry it is. So try it and see. And I'm going to start on this rose back here, and when I'm finished I will go ahead and come back and I'll show you what I came up with. Okay, I'll see you later. Okay, we're back. And here are our roses that I've completed. You have the pink one and then you have the lavender one. And what I'll be doing next is creating some shading and some highlighting in all of your petals. And what we're looking for is we're looking for some depth. When you first create them, sometimes they become all one color, and what we want to do is distinguish between the petals that we do see and the ones that we don't see. So this petal here, you can see that there is some of the pink and there's white behind it, which is good because you can distinguish between those two. But when you come over here to this one here, you really can't distinguish a whole lot between each of the petals. So I would want to deepen right underneath that petal there so that it'll stand out a little bit more. And whenever we're doing this, we want to look at our photograph so that we can see where we want the light areas. So the light's coming from the left over here, so this part of the rose is going to be highlighted the most. This one will remain in shadow, so we can put some cool tones over here, and here we'll highlight that with a little bit of the white. And the same thing on this rose. And we would want to go behind some of these petals that we can't see right now. And then the lights on this rose are going to be on the left side too, because the light is coming from the left. this petal right here is really highlighted. So that would be this one right in here. So I can really highlight that one and deepen it underneath. And then we have some on that one's already highlighted. But you can see little areas where it's really highlighted a lot. And that's what we want to do, is we want to bring out the lights and we want to bring out the darks. And what you do on that is you choose a color. Like if I was going to deepen one of these petals here, I would pick up some berry wine. And I have an angle brush here, and I like using the angles because they have a really sharp point on them. And I would dip my brush in a little bit of the berry wine. And I just have a little bit on there. And the other half in floating medium. And I would walk that on my palette here. Right here. Until it feathers out. And then when I come back in, let's say I want to deepen this little area here, lay your brush down and you can feather in a little bit of that deep. You have to make sure that your painting is completely dry though. Now let's say I can't distinguish between these two. So come around, walk my color out a little bit so it softens it, so we don't have just a real hard edge there. But I can walk it out some. Barely touch that. And walk it out. Now you can distinguish between some of these petals here. That one is distinguished enough. Here we go. So that brought a lot of depth right here in this area here. So go through your painting and see where you need these darks. I can see quite a few over here that I need to deepen. And after I get them all deepened, I'll come back and I'll show you what that looks like. So you can go ahead and do the highlighting and the shading on the roses. And I'm going to do both of them. And then I'll come back and I'll show you what that looks like. And then we'll go ahead and go to the next step. So see you in a few. I'm not for sure how well you can see this, but I've added a black background instead of the gray. And then I've come in with some burgundy and a little bit of the violet pansy to make the subtle leaves that you see in the backdrop here. Now they're so subtle. I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up, but they're a one-stroke leaf to where you touch, you press down, and then you pull up and turn to a point. And they're just a basic leaf. Now, if you don't have a burgundy color, here's how you can mix it. If you have a color wheel, if you have red and you add black, you get a burgundy. And I would recommend that everybody gets a color wheel because they give you a lot of information on color mixing in case you don't have that color. Now, as you can see, our painting is mostly done in, let Let me make sure this is on camera. Yes. This rose here, the purple one, is done in these tones. This rose over here is done in these tones. You can see the tans and the light pinks and the deeper burgundies. And if you turn this color wheel, it gives you different variations of color mixes, because you have a shade, you have a tone, and you have a tint. And the color wheel pretty much does everything for you. And on this side, being we're working in the violets, the red violets and the red, if I take this color wheel and turn it, now if I add white to the red, it will create that. If I add yellow to the violet, you're going to get a little bit of a mossy green. The red violets, if you add blue, you're going to get this color. And you can see what you're going to get when you're mixing these colors just by having a color wheel. And you can get these on Amazon or Michael's, probably Hobby Lobby, any of those stores. Here, if I add blue, well, red and blue make a violet. That looks like a dioxine purple almost to me. Yellow and red violet would make kind of a yellow ochre, and a red and a violet would make that pretty magenta color, which is this right here. So anyway, that's just a little tip there of working with your color wheel, and this is kind of what I mixed up. I have some of that burgundy right here. Here's some of the violet pansy, and I just double loaded that on my brush, and I've come up here and I started with a little vein. I don't want to use that because I have some white on it. Let me get back into my color I was originally doing. There we go. And just add a little float to it. Put your vein in first, where you want it. I went down this way and I came down. Now I don't want to go over any of my roses yet. Let's add a vein to that leaf, to that leaf, and to that leaf. And you can see that I have highlighted a few of those by adding a little bit of this light violet mixture that I had when we did the lavender rose here. What I like to do is keep those colors available, and then I incorporate them in my leaves. And I incorporate them all through my painting. That way everything already dried up on me. Everything that I do has, get off in there, the same color mixes in it, from the flowers to the leaves. Now you might have to go over some of these leaves again. Looks like I might have to go over some of them. Do a little more layering on here. I lost my highlight on this one right here. See how nice it is when you first put the color on, but then it will tend to dull down after a while, and you have to go back over it again. This one's just a little bit too crooked. There we go. I think I want a nice highlight on this one too. Just come up from the bottom. I'm trying to keep my hand out of the way as I come up. These are in the background. Those are real subtle, but I wanted a few of them to come forward. That to be a little bit of a turn leaf right here. Okay, just keep them really subtle because I want to come back over and add some more greenery, and we have to do those little drop down foliage that I saw in our photo here. These little things right here. And I think I'm going to use a mop brush for those. But see, I still want to put in this leaf. Oops, can you see? This leaf right here, which is coming over. That'll be real light color. I still have a few in the front here that I want to put in. And I want to put hints of leaves back over here. But I can't decide if I want to use a green for those or not. If I do, I'm really going to dull them down to where they're not real bright. So anyway, I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, now I've mixed up some green. I've taken a little bit of the thicket and I've added a little bit of our pink mixture, which was that marbling color, and added it to the thicket to gray it down a little bit. And then I took thicket and added some moon yellow, and then I took a little bit of pink and put that in this mixture to gray it down. Now the leaves I've already put on a real thin coat. These two I've highlighted, so this one here, and what I've done is just lightly touch the edge and flick it into the center. I don't want them to be real distinct. I still want them to be kind of in the background. Okay, this one over here. Let's see if I can get this one to stand out a little more so you can see it. So use the darker green first. Put your vein in, and then just come back over and edge the sides and pull it into the center. You still want that background to show through on this. So just put them in real light. And before that dries, you can go ahead and come back in and you can highlight your edges like that. If you have to, you can use a little bit of floating medium. I think I want one of these to cross over right here. Here we go. Now, beans, that one is crossed over. Let's go ahead and highlight this one a little bit more so that it shows up. So what is happening is the background is filling in for your dark color, and you're just edging it with some of the lighter color once you get it painted on there. Okay, let's see where we are. I have to turn this the right way before I can kind of get an idea of what we're going to do here. I think I might add a few more over in here, a few coming down here, and we still have to do those pink mop brush flowers. Touch and just flick that brush right into the center. Once you get the hang of doing this stroke, you'll use it quite a bit probably. It's a really neat technique. Okay, I think I want to add a few of them down here on the bottom, but I want to turn my canvas this way. It's easier to do. I turn my canvas every direction. We want that kind of curved. Touch, flick. Let's see how that dark created that. Now I can come back over this. Ooh, look at that. That's pretty. This is an even lighter color that I mixed up. Know how far I wanted to go with these lights. I didn't know if it would take away from the painting or not. And I can always come back and glaze them over if I see that I don't like them, or if I see that they're standing out too much. So you can always change the acrylics. You can glaze them down, tone them down. Just remember, if you have two leaves, the one on top is going to be brighter than the one underneath. Now on these flowers, again, I got to turn it back around. Let's see. Remember, our light is coming this direction from the left. So if you highlight anything, you'll want to highlight the left side a little bit of your leaves. This one I have the tip, so the light could be coming off of that tip. So let's just highlight a couple of petals on that. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is like an odd number. So let's pick up. Let's do a little bitty short one right here. Doesn't have to be very big. Just a little tiny one. They kind of grow on you sometimes. Get bigger than what you wanted. Blot this and tip the edges a little bit more. There we go. Put that point in there a little bit more. Kind of lost my vein there. Alright, there's 5 on that one. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 5 on that one. Okay, I think I'm gonna leave it at that for right now. And I think I'm gonna move on and put in the little mop brush foliage, because it's going to be a lot brighter. And then once I get that, then I'll see what more I want to do up in this area here. So let me think about it. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I want to show you how to do this little piece down in the corner here, which is our drop flower. These right here, they almost look like icicles or something. I have no idea what kind of foliage that is, but we're going to put some down here, and I've got 4 lines down here. This is the first line, this is the second, third, and the fourth. And the colors I've used, I've decided to do this with a filbert brush instead of the mop brush. And I chose that because I like the foliage effect that you get with it. I use it when I do my trees and stuff in landscapes. So I'm picking up some of this pink color, that we had when we did our pink rose, which would be the dark color. And I start over here, and the brush will do the job. See how you get an arch? Well, if you just keep pouncing it back and forth and walk the brush down, you'll get all these neat little foliage things happening. Great for trees. So I decided to go ahead and use it for this. Now, while this is still a little bit damp, I just picked up a little bit of white and added into the pink that we just got through using, and come back and add some of that soft pink. Don't get real fussy with it. Then I just wipe my brush on a paper towel, and then I come up and go into, I had a little bit of white with a little bit of the yellow in it, and the light's coming from the left, so I just want to touch some of those areas with some sunshine. That's what I like to, how I like to look at it. About to run out of that color. Okay, wipe the brush down, go into some more of the pink. I want some of these to kind of run into each other here. I don't want them to be all real stringy, you know, like they don't go together. We'll run this one, and I'll redo that leaf. Okay. When you go into the light, just wipe your brush down a little bit on a paper towel. And if we get too many of these highlights too light, we can come back and glaze them down. Now I've got one more over here. So I just wipe my brush down a little bit. Let's make this one go this other direction. Let's not bring that down all the way. Just kind of stop midway. Pick up a light pink. Isn't this a cool brush though? This is size 10. A 10 Royal. That's the name of the brush. Now remember, as you're adding the highlights, you're adding less. You just want a little bit of the highlights. Now, when you come back, just put that in some water. Now, I still have a little bit of that green. So, pick up a little bit of this green. Let's tip it right there. Now, I kind of like that in the front there. I need to tip that a little brighter, because you can see through it. Well, it's got to dry now, because I've wet it, and it won't let me come in there. Blow on it a little bit. Ooh, that's way too bright. I still want to keep that in there. You know what? I'm going to change that. I like that on top. So here's how you do that. You just go right back in and just do that one area. Let some of that show through though. Let's see. Just go up a little bit more. There we go. Now it looks like that leaf's showing underneath there. Back a little bit lighter pink. Now, I'm going to let that sit before I make mud out of it, because I want to deepen that just a little bit more. It was still wet under there, and see how you kind of have all the same color? That means that if you keep going, you're going to get mud. So what you do is you just stop, and you let that dry, and then you come back and add some of the darks in there. I want some of that dark tone in there, but I want that to look like this is coming out from here, and it's on top of that leaf right there. Okay, so that's what we're going to do on that leaf there. So I'm going to let that dry, and when I come back, I'll make a decision on what I want to do up there in that right hand corner. So I'll be back in a few. Now for the rest of this foliage, up in the top and down in the bottom, I'm pretty much just using some of my greens that I had mixed up here with the thicket and some of the moon yellow, and I added a little bit of pink in there. Let's see, I'm using the filbert brush, and I have a little bit of the pink and some of this green added. And when I come in here, I want a little bit of foliage here, a little bit of that pink color coming off. I'll redo those when it dries. What I'm trying to do is hit the areas that need to show up a little more. I'm going to keep that one subtle back there. I want the greens down here because I have the pinks. Now I'm going to flip this. Now some of them over here, I'd like to have maybe a little pink over here. So that brings some of the pink up. Now you can also add a little bit of the lavender. Let's try some lavender and see what happens there. Who knows? Might turn out really pretty. Let's see. Need to probably bring some of the lavender over in here. Instead of having so much of the pink, just add a little bit of that lavender. That'll bring some of the lavender over in this area. Again, I'm using the filbert brush to make these. Let's bring a little bit of that lavender. Let's do a little bit of lavender maybe. Well, we can keep that green over in there. Sometimes just need maybe 3 little strokes headed out there. Just add a little bit more. I don't know if I want to put anything that way or not. Haven't decided yet. I like those because I'd like to do those a little more turned. Let's do that one. Maybe we need that one a pink to show up. Let's see, we want to go this direction. That one came out pink and lavender. Pretty colors. Let you play with some colors. I like adding colors. I'll leave that the lighter color. Probably need something down in here. Let me set my plate down and turn this around. What if we add some of these little squishies? Over on the bottom here. Kind of at random. Boink, boink. It's not showing up too well. Sad. Wee. That shows up now. I think I might want a little of that yellow on some of these leaves. Just to pop those out a little bit up against that pink. Right? More of the sunshine color. Let's see what we have here. Ooh, hit a couple of those. This one needs to be deeper. Like I say, sometimes you put these on and then they fade out. All right. I'm going to look at that a little bit longer and see if there's anything else I want to do to this. I want to see, what I usually do is take a photo of it, and then I look at it in the photo, and then I turn my head, and then I come back and look at it again, and I see what is the first thing that my eye goes to, and do I want it to go to that area? What do I want to keep in the background, and what do I want to bring forward? Okay, so I say we're going to stop on this, and I'll review it, and I'll show a photo of it after I've come back and piddle with it a little more, so that you'll have a photo of the completed painting. So thank you very much for joining me on this session, and make sure that you like and you subscribe so that you know when I have other paintings that have come out, and make sure you ring the bell so that you get notified whenever I do a painting. I usually record a couple of times a week. Sometimes I might sneak in 3. So you don't want to miss any of the painting sessions, because I try to pack them with things that you're going to learn that you can use in all of your one-stroke paintings. So thank you very much, and until next time, bye.